In this episode, we talk about gender, shaving your head, and am I going to hell?
Big range of stuff.
Hello and welcome to Ask Young Church, episode 4, where we answer your questions. I'm Edmund Mitchell, the Director of Youth Evangelization and Catechesis. This is Jared, Director of Adult Faith Formation here at St. Francis of Assisi in Grapevine, Texas. SFA, beautiful downtown Grapevine right here. We're going to answer your questions, so let's just get right into them, okay? We got 3 today. It's Saturday. Yesterday was great. Friday was the best Friday in a while,
Absolutely.
you know? So here we go. Lourdes asks, if you die abruptly before you confess your sins, are you going directly to hell?
That's a really good question.
Very good question.
Super
good question.
And honestly, it depends on what sins you're talking about. If there's a mortal sin on your soul, by the book, we would say yes.
So there's mortal sin and venial sin, and what's the difference?
So mortal sin is that which cuts off grace in the relationship with God completely. Venial sins, I hate to say smaller sins, but basically less costly sins.
They damage our relationship.
They damage the relationship, but they don't cut it off completely. Those you can actually basically still get to purgatory with those on your soul, and you have to be cleansed through purgatory before you go to heaven. But if you die abruptly with a mortal sin on your soul by the book, yes, you would go directly to hell. Now, if you're on your way to confession and you die in a car wreck, that leaves it up to God's mercy, because the intention was there.
Yeah, and that's where we're getting, like, it's a great question because it explains this idea of, like, so many people are like, well, God would never send someone to hell or blah, blah. But the thing is as far as we know, the way Jesus has revealed how sin works, how heaven works, right, is that if you are in mortal sin, as far as we know and we can say, yes, you're going to hell. But then also on top of that, where does mercy fit into that? The way mercy fits into that is we say, but it's up to God. It is completely up to God. So we can't judge whether or not someone's in heaven or hell. All we can say is we do know that mortal sin cuts you off from heaven and you cannot enter heaven with that. Now that being said, God knows the intentions of your heart and the real intentions of your heart, not just like, well, come on, I'm a nice guy, let me in. But God knows the intentions of your heart, and like, if you were absolutely on your way to confession and were repentant and never wanted to do this sin again, maybe, but we cannot say it. You know what I mean? Okay, great question.
But the truth is, mortal sin cuts off grace from your soul.
Can't go to heaven.
You cannot go to heaven.
Can't go to heaven. So next question is from Sean Sullivan. When will Edmund and Nick shave their heads? And the answer is, a bunch of the guys shave their heads for Lent.
I'm glad I wasn't involved in it.
Yeah, I know. I've done this a few times, and to be honest, like, I don't think I'm gonna shave my head this year.
Yeah.
I mean, I might if people pressure me enough, but I don't know that we will.
But there's a little bit of like a Lenten observance with this, isn't there?
Yeah. Wait.
Like you're trying to get away from the vanity of the hair.
Yeah, like
I've
done that. I've done it before. Yeah.
I did it one time just because I was getting ready for a summer basketball camp, and my head is super awkward looking, and so I just would prefer to keep my hair.
All right. So you're saying you have a lot of pride.
Handsome,
you're saying you have a lot of pride.
It's very true. It's very true. I would prefer not to worry about my awkward head all the time.
Next question. Reed Proctor. Couldn't find his Twitter thing or anything, but that's okay. Just message me in the comments. What is the difference between men and women in the church? Why different roles?
That's a great question. Very big question, very deep question.
We're going to try to handle it in like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the very basic, quick answer is that equality doesn't necessarily mean sameness. And so while we are seen equally within the eyes of the church, especially in serving the church, that doesn't necessarily mean that we have to serve in the same way. We kind of live in a time and in a culture where gender is kind of frowned upon, seeing the differences between the two, but there really are differences between the two, and so the church recognizes that.
Yeah.
But that doesn't necessarily mean that one's better than the other. Yeah. Actually, I mean, I would argue that because women are the crown of creation, they're the jewel in the crown of the creation, and so they're meant to be served, and so men are meant to serve women. And so ultimately, that's what the church recognizes, is that service, by truly giving of themselves, is what Christ called men to do, and women to be served. That's kind of a beautiful thing. Now, does that mean that women cannot serve? Absolutely not. It just means in a different role or in a different manner.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest problems we have is we think that if things are different or not, then you're better because you can be a priest and I can't.
Right.
And no, in fact, actually, like a lot of people don't know this, in the story of Genesis, like Adam gets like a couple lines on his creation, but the creation story of Eve is huge and long, and in fact it places her as the last thing created, the most beautiful thing, the crown jewel of creation. So we glorify women. Women are awesome, they're amazing, but our roles in the church are different, and that's good. That's a good thing.
Well, who's the highest held human being in all of heaven?
Mary
herself, right? So
boom.
So by that choice, we simply hold that the church holds women very, very high, and so much so that she's the mother of God.
Yeah.
And so therefore, again, equality does not necessarily mean sameness.
Question is, number. Put a number in the comments somewhere or wherever. How many people have you shared these videos with? And if you haven't shared the videos with anyone, you're hurting us. I think this is going to be my Lenten observance, because I haven't figured one out. I think making these videos is my Lenten observance, and you're going to stop me from fulfilling my Lenten obligation if you don't share this video and we get more questions. So submit some questions. Hashtag AskYoungChurch. You can submit them anywhere that you can do a hashtag. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. I will find them, okay?
We will find it.
Take care. God bless.
Peace.